My fiancé abandoned me on our wedding day for another man, and now her father won't leave me alone. I, 21 male, was orphaned around 6 years ago in March of 2019 after a horrific car accident where my whole family were unalived. At that time I was in a 2-month relationship with my now ex-fiancés, and she stood with me more than anyone else did, and her whole family took me in as one of their own, but especially her father. He treated me just as he did his 2 sons, if not even better, and I loved him and still love him as a dad, and I've been working with him for over 2 years now because he's a lawyer and I'm studying law. And over here you have to work in a law firm to get experience in order to graduate, and you usually don't get paid for it, but he pays me minimum wage, which is way more than he has to, and I love him for that. Living alone for that long, however, was lonely, even though I had a loving second family, but I wanted marriage for her to move in with me and to not be alone anymore. And when I proposed last year, she happily accepted and we kissed, and her family were so happy for both of us. And then our supposed wedding came in this past June, and in front of our whole family and friends she said no and ran outside crying. And I just stood there feeling like this was all just a dream, but no, it was reality. She destroyed me that day. Her parents went after her as I stood there seeing all those people whispering and looking at me, and I just snapped. I went home and threw all her stuff away that was already there, and then went straight to the airport to go to our honeymoon alone because it was expensive as hell, and most of the trip was non-refundable, and I had already lost a lot of money in the failed marriage. Her family kept trying to get in contact with me over the next 2 weeks, but I deactivated all my socials. Even after I returned home, I couldn't bring myself to see any of them, so I even avoided work. I live in a small village where everyone knows everyone and everyone here talks, and ever since that day people made me this evil bastard that forced this innocent little girl into marrying, but she heroically saved herself, which is all bullcrap. I never even raised my voice over her. Life then went on, and I found another lawyer to do my internship with, and he was nowhere near as good as my ex-fiancé's dad, but it wasn't that bad. And they stopped trying to reach out to me, and people stopped talking about the whole thing, and it felt like it's just moving on. When suddenly around 2 weeks ago I was chilling at home alone at night, and her dad came over. I of course welcomed him in and offered coffee, and he accepted. Before we could talk, he started apologizing for his daughter, saying she got cold feet at the last second and refused, and that he too wasn't proud of her and wasn't happy about the whole situation. And I told him it was none of his fault and that I'm sorry for ghosting him, but it just was painful to be around him, especially since she looks so much like him, even though I still love him. He asked me whether I like to come back and work with him, even if I just want our relationship to just be a work relationship, because he loves me like a son and doesn't want to lose that, and I told him I'd think about it. Update 1 day later. So after reading all of your comments, I decided to talk to him, and I did. We went out to a local coffee shop and talked. I told him I'd love to work with him again, but with only one condition, which is to not mention his daughter and what she's doing with her life, and to please not invite me to events she'll be present at, and he accepted. He told me that he too was embarrassed and shamed after the wedding, and that he's sad and disappointed it didn't work out between us, and that he understands why I don't want to hear about her. Then he asked about how I'm doing and where will I be celebrating the new year, and I told him I'll do it alone at home, which was the first time I ever did it, because for the last 5 years I always celebrated with them, and he was sad and said he'd have loved to celebrate with me as his son-in-law, and I told him to say happy holidays to the whole family, except her of course. Then we left. Thanks for all the comments and love, and happy new year to all of you. Update 12 hours later. Hey there, I wasn't expecting to make another update on this, but here we go. Earlier today her dad talked to me and asked if he could come over, and I accepted. And he came over with a gift basket full of chocolate, which I quite liked. He told me that he just wanted to let me know that there was a second guy that my ex was seeing at the time, which is why she said no and left me. And that he was so ashamed to tell me that and so embarrassed in his daughter that he said she got cold feet. I told him that I had suspected so, and that it wasn't his fault. I asked him whether or not he has heard what was being said about me after the wedding in the village, and he said that they were also people talking about his daughter and that she's a bitch for doing that. And I asked whether he could stop and deny those rumors that I was abusive, and he promised he'd help me and deny them. I also asked whether he could recompense with some of the money I lost in the wedding, because I need serious therapy and it's really expensive over here, and I put almost all my money into the wedding and honeymoon and our house, and he agreed to give me half of the wedding costs, which would be more than enough for me, and I thanked him for that. He also said that the guy his daughter left me for has already broken up with her, and she is regretting leaving me for him, but he understands why I don't want to go back to her, and he promised me that it won't affect my internship with him, and I rerun to work with him next Sunday, which I'm thankful for because I hate staying home.